You are.
What is the matter?
I feel a little low.
I know what could help. SEM TV Morning Pulse. It's a good day to shine on SEM TV Morning Pulse.
Oh, hey. Wake up, go shine. Go shine, go shine. Morning light, here we go. New day rising, feel the flow. From your world to what's ahead. Every story being said. Feel the rhythm, feel the call. We bring the moment, we bring it up. Wake up, go shine. Step into your light, your time. Feel the world come alive. SEM TV, rise and shine. Wake up, go shine. From the streets to the skyline. Every moment, every line. SEM TV, go shine. Shine. Go shine, go shine. Go shine, go shine. Go shine, go shine. From your health to what is new. From the trends to global views. Where the roads and where to go. Markets moving, let it show. Feel the rhythm, feel the call. We bring the moment, bring it up. Wake up, go shine. Step into your light, your time. Feel the world come alive. SEM TV, rise and shine. Wake up, go shine. From the streets to the skyline. Every moment, every line. SEM TV, go shine.
Still feeling low?
No, SEM TV Morning Pulse was just what I needed.
A beautiful morning to you. It's the second day here in the month of June 2026. And this is SEM TV Pulse, where we bring Nigeria and the world to your doorstep. And when we're done with the newspaper headline this morning, it will be time for Vera Philip and Tammy to take you around the world on Weather Report. My name is Bariswa Christian Wiga. I'm not doing this alone. I have the definition, I beg your pardon, of a perfect gentleman. I call him Asian Francis, and he's here standing right by my side.
You are going to explain what that means. Well, good morning, Bariswa.
Good morning to you.
And good morning. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. Of course, it's Morning Pulse, and it's a whole bouquet of just everything and anything that you need to get your day started. I remain Francis Oyemaidet, super excited as always, and today I'm hoping that our manager will give us a leave of work early enough because today happens to be the International Leave Work Early Day set aside to celebrate, workers worldwide, and particularly to remind workers that it's always good to leave work early. And then of course it's also a day to advocate against working overtime and not being paid for those times. It's a different thing when the system is right and you're working overtime and you're being paid for the overtime.
That matters. It counts. Trust me, it does.
That works for us. But in a system where overtime is just being used by employers overuse and overburden their employees like beast of burden. Oh my. It's definitely a day for you to have a second thought about, what you do at the office environment and how long you stay. And especially considering the fact that your family needs you. So the more time you spend in the office environment, the less time you have for your family.
Very correct. And with that said, it's time for us to dive into the newspaper headlines this morning. And we're starting with the Punch this beautiful morning. On the Punch, we have financial... how OPE is driving financial inclusion for 10 millions and creating jobs across Nigeria. Also, NCDC launches 21-day Ebola watch for exposed travelers. Petrol price soars 643%, I beg your pardon, in 3 years. You can get this on page 9 on the Punch newspaper. Also, 2027 poll, CBN targets 2.83 trillion naira cash in private hands. Oh, this is huge, I'll say. But we'll come back to that on News Surgery. And also, we have $1.1 billion dispute. Nestor wins big as Supreme Court vacates all court of appeal. Restorative expert others describe it as judicial tragedy. Still on it, school abduction protest in Oyo, Ogun as NUT begins nationwide rally today. Also, the last story on the Punch newspaper this morning, Nigeria's blackout persists despite $3.6 billion Wema Bank loans. And over to you, Mr. Francis.
Well, the next stop this morning will be the reverse side of the Punch newspaper before we progress to the others. A couple of articles you like to read. Why clarity is the most underrated leadership skill. That's written by Azuka Onwuka. Details you can find there. Of course, primaries, political class conspiracy as deception personified. Long range, written by Ademola Oni. Definitely 2 columns you don't want to miss out. Of course, we have picture stories, one of protest and the other of the Oyo State leader, of course, alongside the president. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, wife of the Chief of Naval Staff Hazza Abbas, husband Vice Admiral E.D. Abbas, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and Kwara State Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, among others, at the 70th year anniversary at Eko Atlantic in Lagos Monday. Of course, that's the photo taken by the State House Press. But let's look at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. A screaming headline: Babachir quits ADC, alleges Atiku's primary win rigged. The writer to the story claims ex-VP is a religious tribal bigot. He is a notorious conflict entrepreneur, not qualified to speak what is good about Nigeria. Publish load of garbage. Atiku's team reacting to what Babachir said. Of course, above the masthead, or your abduction, a really sad narrative. Public skills shut protest in Ibadan, Abeokuta. And the writer to the story, protesters at Oyo State Secretariat vowed to sustain advocacy until kidnapped victims regain freedom. Details are on page 3. There's a picture story of the protests currently ongoing. Of course, underneath there's a picture story of Ekiti State Governor Baba Mr. Biodun Oyebanji addressing members of the informal sector under the urges of Congress of Artisans and private sector as part of his re-election campaign in Ado-Ekiti yesterday. Page 5, troops rescue 23 abductees in Kogi. Gunmen kill 8, injure 10 in Plateau community, page 26. And in the health sector, even one drink of alcohol can raise cancer risks, scientists warn. Page 3 has details of the story, and we are reminded again of the Owo Church massacre. Court delivers judgment tomorrow. Page 4 has details of the story.
And on Daily Trust this morning, school children abductions, Borno parents slam federal government silent as protest rocks Oyo. How Babachir fell out with Atiku. Abuja motorists battle flooded streets as rain sets in. You can get that on page 12 on this Daily Trust paper. Cholera kills 40 in Borno State. This is a sad narrative. You see, have pictures of children or people protesting, your state, where they say their lives matters, which is the truth. Also beneath the story, have bandit leader contact abductor general's family, seek release of members. And I keep wondering, how do these people, have the connection in connecting the members or the families of people that have been kidnapped, but yet nothing has been done about that. Windstorm rain destroy 400 houses, schools in Zamfara, Plateau, Sokoto. Questions over Chinda's position as minority leader, APC governorship candidate. Also the next story, Nigeria only 59% prepared for possible Ebola outbreak. And the next story on Vanguard, we are working to rescue kidnapped retired Major General Abubakar, said this. Also still on it, caught terrorist arms supply and attack, say nothing Christians. Impressive. 2027, Atiku X SGF Bika over outcome of ADC presidential primary. You can get that on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And by your right, Saraki versus Turaki. PDP crisis escalates in Kwara State, produces 2 governor candidates. You can get this on the 29, page of the Vanguard paper. And beneath it, which is number 9 on the page of the paper this morning, East War, Iran suspend talks with U.S. over Israeli attacks in Lebanon. Still on Vanguard this morning, protests rock Ogun over abduction of teachers and students. I go further to read, school shot as teachers CSOs protest in Oyo. Action NUT to embark on nationwide protest today. And beneath it, we'll have this one saying, Oshun calls emergency meeting over border school safety. Over to you, Francis.
Next up this morning, the Delhi Times newspaper, and the screaming headline, the Delhi Times adds 100 a century of shaping Nigeria's story. Above the masthead, we still have a Yo school abduction. Tinubu approves 1,000. Forest Guard deploys a rescue team. Nigeria's food import bill falls to $2.34 billion US despite rising FX utilization, according to the CBN. And those are the major stories on the front page of the Delhi Times newspaper. And it takes us to a regional newspaper and, of course, foreign. And we're starting with the Delhi Guide newspaper. Screaming headline, tension in NDC over flag bearer race. Details are on page 3. Ghana there beginning their own drama. Mahama hints at returning gay bill to parliament. Okay, that's a new one. President John Mahama Dramani of Ghana. I wonder what that means, but you can find details on page 3. Akonta mines reported illegal miners. Ex-minister Kwambina Okoye documents. Details are on page 6. We also see government to establish largest gold refinery. Sami Gwamfi writes on page 6 there. And then, of course, we have the 31 amendments have weakened anti-LGBTQ bill, according to the minority. That's a Reverend John Ntemforja, flanked by all the minority members of parliament. Details are on page 6. And those are the major stories on the front page of the Daily Guide.
And on the Boston Globe, this morning, a gap in law on AI-created images of kids. Also, we'll go further to say Wumo's tax breaks to spur housing. Had abandoned previous efforts, developers fear abatement comes too late. On the right side of this newspaper headline this morning, you see middle class costs outpace inflation rate. And beneath it, capping off a tremendous time. And also the last topic here on this paper is local firms at vanguard of a transplant revolution. All right, let's move over to the next paper. The
very last paper.
All right. Okay, I'll give it to you, Francis.
That'll be the national newspaper. And of course, the screaming headline still takes us to the war in the Middle East. Israel seizes historic castle. Strips push into Lebanon. Military orders residents from homes as far-right minister calls for permanent control of Assad. Above the screaming headline, above the masthead, we see an opinion. Alien Kamakian crucial food systems under threat in the region. We're also seeing deadly outbreak. UAE issues travel warning as Ebola spreads in Africa. Page 7 has details. Silver screen Palestinian director makes debut at Cannes Festival. Of course, that's the Cannes Film Festival, another place to showcase the great contributions of the creative industries. French Open, shock early exits clear path for new champion. And the last story will be taking on the national. Baraka plans strike highlights dangerous pardon. Of course, those are the major stories on the front page of the national newspaper for today. And taking us to the end of the newspaper review, we'd also like to celebrate with the people of Italy who are celebrating their day, of course, dating back to 1946 when the people of Italy, Rome, took the decision to have a certain, pattern of government, and then they did away with the aftermath of the World War II experience giving way for what it is today, known as Rome. So you can call that Independence Day for the Republic of Rome.
sure.
It's an amazing day of celebration, and we celebrate with the Holy See. Of course, you know, the Pope is the president of Italy. So it's a celebration for not just Italy, but a celebration for the entire people of God all around the world. We celebrate them, and we wish they continue to live in peace and harmony. But I'd like to ask you before you round us off,
Talk to me.
will you like to leave work early today?
I would love to. Not like, I would love to leave work early. I have things to do. As a baby girl, I need to pamper myself. But let's hold that thought. All right.
Well, we'll wait.
Before we call it a wrap, after the break, it will be time for Vera Philip and Tammy to come take you around the world on Weather Report. And after Vera Philip and Tammy, it will be time for News Surgery, where we put on our glove and do that which is necessary in the theater. Until then, bye-bye.
Worried about the state of your world? Need better and